Got another bona fide barn burner for you today. Hello, I am Xarkun, and this is World of Warships Legends. In this battle on the Tears of the Desert map, we are in the Tier 7 Premium American battleship USS Alabama, one of 3 Tier 7 American premium battleships that is in the game, along with the Georgia and Massachusetts. Alabama is essentially the Massachusetts, except without the benefit of the long-range secondaries. And what are we going to be seeing in this game? Well, once again, the accuracy / concealment William Sims build is on this ship. And as you can see, if you look by the minimap, my sea detectability is 13.4 kilometers. Without the 2 inspirations of Kondo and Swirsky on this build, the concealment is something like 14.7 kilometers, which is extremely conspicuous. Now, obviously, 13.4 kilometers is not inconspicuous, but it's a lot better than that. And I think we are going to see some instances of where that comes in handy. And we're not going to, once again, be trading anything off too much in order to get that. Aside from, well, actually, I was going to say accuracy, but that had more to do with my poor lead than anything to do with the dispersion of the Alabama itself. In fact, I probably shouldn't have called that shot out because it was so abysmal. Let's just pretend it didn't happen as we move in toward the Charlie cap. And you're going to see in this upcoming sequence here that patience is a virtue. I think in my very first episode of Naval Boot Camp, where I talked about how to survive in a battleship, I said you don't want to push into situations where the enemy has a numerical superiority in terms of the number of ships. If you're going to be shot at by more than 1 or 2 ships in your battleship, you're going to go down pretty quickly. And these are rules that you want to obey, especially in Tier 7 as well. And once we come around toward the Alpha Cap, we're going to see that there are a lot of red ships over there. And there's really only one of me, and I guess there's like a mostly dead Atlanta in front of me. That the aircraft carrier is, well, the aircraft carrier is going to kill him for the first blood medal, so that's nice. AA cruiser versus the German aircraft carrier. Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad AA is so effective and that there's so much counterplay to these ships. Anyway, let's not get into that. That's not what it's about. Helena out there, he spots us because we're a little too close to him in order to, not be seen. Take a shot at him. Looks like he's turning in, and he is going to... Well, he's going to dodge being deleted there, but he still gets hurt very, very badly. Now, take a look on the minimap at the blue battleship pushing in toward Charlie, and take a look at all the red ships coming in this direction on the minimap. We're going to see illustrated why I tell you not to push in to an area of the map where the enemy has a numerical superiority. Is it a goal to capture the Charlie cap? Absolutely it is, but not at the expense of losing your battleship. And as you can see, this battleship has an Akatsuki to contend with, which is unfortunate. We're going to turn our guns toward that Akatsuki and try to help out our teammate by taking away some of this destroyer's hit points, but it is a fairly long-range shot on a destroyer, so we really aren't expecting much. And now we have to sort of... Actually, we do get a fairly decent hit on that Akatsuki. 3 over-penetrations. That's a good deal of damage on that destroyer. But we do have to turn away now as the Geniza now, Florida, and I think there's another battleship out there, make their approach. We want to angle toward these guys. We don't want to be giving them broadside. We don't want to give up too many hit points. The Scharnhorst is the blue battleship in that cap. In fairness, he is taking the cap, and he's got himself behind the island there. But I do think he's going to end up dying because he's got no way of disengaging. He's essentially trapped in the position he's found himself in, and the enemies over here are going to be able to pick him apart. Here I am dropping spot once more, so these guys don't have a line of sight on me. If I didn't have the concealment build on this ship, I would still be spotted right at this very moment by the Geniza now. But just this little bit of extra concealment does make a difference. It does allow me to do what I need to do. If I needed to turn and move the other way, I could do so without any risk to my ship because I wouldn't be spotted. And keep in mind there is an enemy aircraft carrier present in this game, the enemy August von Parzival. And I know one of the arguments against this concealment build is that aircraft carriers are going to negate concealment anytime they're present in a game. That's true, but not the whole time they're in a game. Obviously, the aircraft carrier does not have his planes around here right now. He's not spotting me right now. So the concealment build is still benefiting me. Not an argument against the benefit of the concealment build. That is the presence of aircraft carriers in the game. I mean, you could argue that you don't need concealment builds on destroyers because there are aircraft carriers in the game that can spot destroyers essentially at will, as long as they have a good idea of where the destroyer is on the map. But that would be a foolish argument, just as it would be a foolish argument when applied to battleships. At least I think so. I don't think the logic follows there. Taking another shot at the Akatsuki, this time we don't lead him enough. Excuse any noises you might hear in the background as I commentate over this game, too, because my cat is running around the apartment like a absolute maniac. I don't know what he's doing. He's like running into the living room area, batting at some cord I have on the floor that I really need to pick up. Then he's running away almost as if he's hunting it. Sort of like I'm hunting this Geniza now, I guess. We smack him in the turret there, removing one of his turrets from play. And this game, by the way, was played during the time where a turret bug is supposedly present on battleships, and you do full penetration damage to the ship by hitting its turrets. I think that bug might actually come into play in an upcoming shot I take at the Geniza now, or maybe not. I'm not honestly familiar with what exactly the bug is, and if it applies broadly to all battleships across all lines, but I don't know. You be the judge on the shot that I'm going to be taking against the North Carolina here. As you can see, though, the Alpha Cap has fallen into red hands. That Scharnhorst somewhere earlier died. And why did he die? Well, there are 4 or 5 ships around here, and there was really only one of him. So, once again, don't push into situations like this with your battleship. What I'm doing here is not running away or playing cowardly. What I'm doing is preserving my hit points and still doing damage to these ships out here. And this is the majority of the enemy team. I do want to tie them up as long as possible and make it difficult for them to move into Bravo. As you can see, they have secured Alpha, and my team has secured Alpha, and they have secured Charlie. Bravo is up for grabs. The next logical move for both teams is to move toward Bravo and try to flip that. And I want to impede their progress. I am helped out by a friendly battleship somewhere near me along that chain of islands who is also capturing their attention. I think part of the reason I'm not capturing their attention especially much is because for a lot of that engagement there, after I had fired my guns, I went dark and was unspotted because I was far enough away from these guys to not be spotted. But as you can see, the Geniza now is pushing in. I'm taking a shot at a New Mexico out here who is failed divisioned into a Tier 7 game. Once again, I don't know how many times I have to say this. If you are in a ship, do not division with a ship in a higher tier than you. It's not going to work out very well. I mean, in some ships it might, but certainly not in the New Mexico, this poor guy. He's being harassed by the friendly aircraft carrier to boot, and he has the 16-inch guns of the Alabama to contend with. Geniza now pushing in. I think this may be the shot where the turret bug comes into play. Maybe. I mean, 3 penetrations there for 14,000 damage through the front of the ship. Theoretically, that could have been in the superstructure. The German superstructure is really beefy. Of course, it has a lot of hit points. And I don't mean beefy as in strong. It's weak as heck. and you can get a whole lot of penetration with AP and HE on that superstructure. So it could have just been that. I don't know. Either way, the Geniza now decides angling is irrelevant. Let's give the Alabama broadside. Bad idea, because there's 16,000 more of his hit points gone. And, you know, that was more than that was taken from him when he was bow on to me. So, like, you know, don't do that. Also gets hit from the friendly aircraft carrier there. Lands one torpedo on his hull. He's turning away now. He wants to disengage, but it is too late. That's still a nice angle that gives me great access to that juicy superstructure. And this time, I believe the shells do hit the superstructure. They take out the Geniza now. And now it's 3 versus 3. Point situation, 432 to 310. And the enemy team does have a destroyer left. You can see his torpedoes way out there in the distance, going toward the last friendly battleship aside from myself. Looks like that battleship takes some torpedoes, and in fact, he goes down. So, the enemy team is very close to us in terms of points. It's just me and the North Carolina left. Now, all these ships really have to do is capture Bravo, and then either kill me or not die. Now, that's going to be a tall order for them, because one of them is a Florida and one of them is a New Mexico. The destroyer is really the biggest threat to me. So at this point, I see no real reason not to push in. All I have to do is be careful of the torpedoes from the destroyer. But so long as you know where a Japanese torpedo boat destroyer is, or so long as you have a good idea of that, and you maneuver and don't sail in a straight line, I think you'll find that Japanese torpedoes are often pretty easy to dodge. They do like to spread out quite a bit. Now, unfortunately, that Florida sort of baits the shot and then jukes it. He slows... Oh, no, he doesn't. He gets hit really hard there for 15,000 damage. I thought he had slowed down and was going to speed up and avoid most of that salvo, but nope, never mind. At this point, I am spotted by enemy aircraft, so at this point, yes, the concealment is not really benefiting me that much. The New Mexico is more concealed than I am. That's really the only thing he's got going for him. But honestly, pushing in toward an Alabama, that's a losing proposition for this guy. Note also that the spotted icon still says by air. And that is important. When you're spotted, you do want to pay attention to what is spotting you. If it's a plane, then the icon is going to show a plane. But if it's by a ship on the surface of the sea, then the icon is going to be this eyeball here. And if you see that you are spotted by the eyeball icon and there's nothing within line of sight of you, then you can assume it's a destroyer, and you can react and move your ship accordingly. So, little detail, but I don't think it's something I've really talked about before, so it is important to note what it is that is actually spotting you. Now, this New Mexico, he can turn bow in all he wants. It's going to be basically irrelevant, although somehow he does manage to ricochet 2 shells there. But I can overmatch his bow. There's really nothing he can do. Only the belt armor around his citadel is going to be capable of bouncing my shells. If only RNG was being cooperative with me there on that rear turret shot, but surely he can't stand up to another salvo from the mighty Alabama. And he can. He goes down. We're at 144,000 damage, and that just leaves the Florida and the Akatsuki. Now, I am a little bit concerned about the location of the Akatsuki. Last time I knew he was far south of that Bravo cap after he had just torpedoed one of my teammates into oblivion. So he's undoubtedly approaching me this way now, and I don't have too much leeway in terms of maneuvering because I do have to angle against this Florida, but yeah, there is an example of why you don't want to play the Florida at close range, and why potentially playing it at longer range with a concealment build is much, much more beneficial. After taking 30,000 damage right through the nose, that Florida decides it doesn't matter anymore. Let's just give broadside to get that rear turret on target. And yeah, well, that's not going to work out very well. There's a citadel, and rear turret, another citadel, he goes down. You saw those torpedoes run in front of me. Even though I didn't have much leeway in maneuvering, the act of opening and closing up the angle toward that Florida just sort of dodged the torpedoes for me. So that's something to keep in mind too when you got a destroyer at you. If you open and close your angle at, say, an enemy battleship, oftentimes that's going to be enough to maneuver you out of the way of any torpedoes a destroyer might launch. But there's the game, 195,000 damage, top of the leaderboard with 3,000 XP. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.